ready to get down to business? Join seasoned entrepreneur, community leader, and Army veteran Scott Shalom Klein, who will take you behind the scenes with those who work in America's small business scene and speak with leaders making an impact, creating jobs, and telling their story in entrepreneurship. So let's get down to business. On AM 560, The Answer, here's your host, Shalom Klein.
And indeed, we're all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship and business. We talk a lot about business here. You're on with Get Down to Business. I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts at my website at syklein.com. And while you are there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at shalomklein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information you will not want to miss. And I'm really excited for this conversation. I'm going to kick it off with Scott Cohen, who began his life as a copywriter. I have to assume that he probably started writing as a very, very young child, but we'll talk a little bit later in life than just that. There we go. Absolutely. And I know he's worked on two sides of the aisle as a brand side marketer, but of course also having working with agencies as well, working with clients ranging from small businesses to enterprise companies across multiple industries. Sends a lot of emails, and we're going to talk all about that. He's been called a dangerous marketer, SMS, and all things CRM and retention marketing. And I'm super excited because I know our listeners ask questions about this all the time. Scott Cohen, welcome to the program. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Shalom. Really excited to be here. It's, I like to say I know enough to be dangerous.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about how I started that intro over there. When did you first start copywriting? And then when did you make that transition into email marketing?
Yeah, so I went to school at James Madison University in Virginia. And I like to say I got as close to an advertising degree as I could get without going into the business school, because I did not want to do accounting and econ and all those not so fun things for creatives like me. And so I really started copywriting. This was over 20 years ago now, internships and all that fun stuff. And copywriting was really my main job for the first 5-6 years of my career. And then it was literally, I was at Western Governors University writing everything from brochures, website copy, you name it. Of course, writing the email newsletters. And one day my boss came to me and said, you're writing these things. Why don't you just do them? And as they say, the rest is history. And that was about 15 years ago. Yeah.
And now you've become, as we said, enough to be dangerous for sure. So you started in copywriting, transitioned to email marketing. And definitely that's quite the shift. We're going to talk all about email marketing in a minute or so, but let's talk about small business. I know you've worked with both large corporations and small businesses. Can you share some key differences in how email marketing strategies need to be adapted for small businesses with limited resources?
Yeah, it's the big difference really is scale. I mean, it's large corporations. You have, typically tons and tons of products, a lot of SKUs. Each of those products may have differing life cycles. There's a lot of complexity that goes into that, what cross-selling might look like, et cetera, et cetera. Small businesses typically don't have, they're not the overstocks of the world that have 1 million SKUs to sell. You're not trying to sell across multiple things, right? It's sort of it's a smaller ecosystem to operate in. So it really comes down to scale and complexity. And when you talk about the key differences, both sizes of organizations from an email perspective certainly need to focus on those foundational elements. Those, I'd like to say, the welcome emails for new subscribers, cart abandon for the e-commerce folks, right? Post-purchase fulfillment, all those first-time hand raise moments that customers have an expectation around. Small businesses need to nail those first. And, at a smaller scale, of course, they don't need, unless their product life cycle is some huge considered purchase, right, of thousands and thousands of dollars, you don't need to have 25 welcome emails. You need to have 2, right? You need to have 2 cart abandon emails. You need to have an order confirmation email, a shipping confirmation email, and maybe 1 or 2 emails in there that make people feel good about their purchase, right? You don't need to boil the ocean all at once. And so, really, I would say from a strategic standpoint, you're really talking about how do you talk to these customers? How do you make them feel good about buying from you? It's just that as you get bigger, it gets more complex.
Absolutely, that's true. And I want to talk about CRM as well. I want you to definitely demystify some systems, because we're familiar with Salesforce and Zoho and a bunch of others.
Yep.
We've talked about that on the program. So your background includes experience with CRM and retention marketing. Can you explain how email marketing can most effectively be integrated with these other areas, especially for a small business?
Yeah, email is like the tip of the spear, right? It is the outreach channel that can get you out there quickly, and it has the closest access to that data that might sit in a CRM, right? I like to say at a minimum, know what your customers have done with you. So what have they seen on your website? What have they purchased from you? How many conversations have they maybe had with sales folks? If you have that data, you can use it to create, dispositions or segments or things of that sort. And then email can use that and push out emails to folks that may be warm, or you want to warm them up even more, and I'd say the best email marketers are we're really stewards of that data. We understand what that data means, how it can be used to build segments, target what content might be appropriate for those folks, et cetera, et cetera. The worst thing you can possibly have from a simple email perspective is if I send you an email today with a better offer for a product you bought yesterday, you're going to be really pissed off as a customer, right? So email has that high expectation of, I've given you my information. I expect you to know things about me. Respect that. And, like I said, it's that tip of the spear for small businesses. The odds are you're probably not sending enough email, but you need to make sure it's the right email.
For sure. Absolutely. So what do you wish every small business owner knew about email marketing? You've sent millions of emails, I'm sure, in your career. And based on that experience, what are some of the common mistakes that you're seeing small business owners make in their email marketing? What's your most valuable piece of advice for them?
Become your own customer. So if you have all these forms on your site, you have these purchase processes built on your site, whatever it might be a customer and go through it. Once a month, once a quarter, whatever it might be. Things break all the time. If you've built, a welcome journey or a post-purchase journey, make sure those work every so often. The only way you can know how it's working is through I'd like to say, playing with live ammo. You got to just go ahead and do it. Create those aliases in your Gmail account. Do those things. Because if you don't do that, inevitably one of your customers is going to find it and is going to put you on blast about it. The other thing, and speaking of, not necessarily playing with live ammo, but the big mistakes I see are, what might be basics, right? Links not working, images not loading correctly. And the only way you can know that is if you start sending yourself tests, right? If you're in like a Klaviyo or a MailChimp or whatever those might be that small business owners typically use in terms of platforms, send yourself a test. Literally click on every possible link you've put in that email and make sure it goes to where you want it to go. Because again, the customers are going to find it if you don't beforehand.
That's really good advice. Absolutely. Again, I'm chatting with the CEO of Inbox Army, and that's Scott Cohen, really learning so much about email marketing. And you talked earlier in the conversation about enough to be dangerous about email marketing. So I just want to sort of give this last minute or so for you, especially for a small business owner, for an entrepreneur that's just getting started and maybe doesn't even know what CRM, doesn't even know about Constant Contact and MailChimp and all of the other solutions that are out there. How can they actually get started?
Well, start small. I think that's the big thing. Think those two words, start small, and do research, right? You mentioned Constant Contact. I mentioned MailChimp. I mentioned Klaviyo. You're starting from zero, and that's okay. A lot of these platforms have a lot of great resources. They have pre-built templates you can use. Some of them even have like sample automation flows. Like I said, for welcome, they can help you set up, pop-ups on your site, forms on your site to collect email, just especially in this age where I know Google keeps putting it off, but we're in this, we're on our way to having no cookies in Google and tracking. And so get people on your list and start emailing, right? It could be a monthly newsletter, a bi-monthly newsletter. It could be get those basics in place, because those foundational programs I mentioned, the welcome, the cart abandon, that post-purchase, it's not a huge lift, and it will make probably 75% of your revenue for a little while, because especially the welcome, makes so much money that it's just you got to start somewhere. So don't think you have to do everything, but leverage those resources in front of you.
That's good advice. Well, we're running out of time. Scott Cohen, again, CEO of Inbox Army. And I want to make sure our listeners can get in touch with you because I know you indeed have a lot of great content that you're sending out via email and so many other places as well. How can we find it?
Find us on inboxarmy.com. It's exactly how it's spelled. We chose the name because it was less than 12 characters and easy to remember. So inboxarmy.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. It's linkedin.com/Scott Cohen 13. Feel free to connect with me there, and I'm happy to answer any questions anybody might have. I love nerding out about email.
I love it. Well, Scott, appreciate you jumping away from the computer screen and your inbox to share some of your insights with us here on Get Down to Business. As always, you can find all of our shows at syklein.com or in your favorite podcast app. Just search for Get Down to Business. Quick break here on the program. We'll be right back.